my name is Cynthia from PreciousHeart.org, and today I just want to talk about how to know when you're a little bit too desperate and also how to not appear so desperate. Okay, so the number one way you will know that if you're a little bit too desperate is if every single time you go somewhere and you see a guy just walking around, that's all you think about. Well, you think about, well, is he my future husband? Is he him or is he someone else? Like, you just keep wondering, oh my goodness, I wonder if he's gonna be my future husband. You go to the grocery store, you're like, I wonder if that's gonna be my future husband. You go to the beach, you see guys, you're like, which one is it? Which one is it? And you start driving yourself crazy thinking about which one could be your future husband. You may be a little bit too desperate if that's the case. Alright, so number two way you can know if you're a little bit too desperate is if you're willing to kind of date someone or, like get in a relationship with someone, even if you know it's not God's will, or you're not even willing to know if it's God's will because you just want to be in a relationship. So that's the number two way to know if you're a little bit too desperate. Because just imagine, you're with a guy or you're getting to know a guy, and in your head you're just like, I'm not even going to ask God if he's the right one for me or if he's okay with me dating him because I don't want to know. If that's the case, that's a big issue right there. That means you're a little bit too desperate. Okay, so that's number two. The number three way to know if you're a little bit too desperate is if you're kind of like willing to compromise whatever standard that you have. You don't even care about your standards anymore. You're just like, you know what, forget my standards. Forget that I need him to be a godly person. For example, some of my standards were, and of course everybody have different standards, but for me, one of the main ones, this is not in order whatsoever, but one of the main ones is that he has to not just be a Christian, but be a man of God. So that was a big thing for me. Of course, I have to be attracted to him. That's just my personal thing. And then the third one was that I just need him to kind of be aligned with my purpose or his purpose or vision in life to be aligned with mine. So those things were like things that where I was not willing to compromise whatsoever. It was no compromising right there. So if you have those things that you're not willing to compromise, but because you're so desperate, you're just like, forget those things, they're not really important. That's when we start like making excuses in our mind, like, oh, it's not really that important, whether or not he's a Christian. So then you just kind of like forget about it, and yeah, so that's one of the ways. You're just willing to compromise or ignore whatever the standards are. So those were some of the things that kind of shows that you're a little bit too desperate. So if that's you, I would just recommend you take a look at those things that you're doing and ask yourself, why is it that I tend to, sorry about the cough, ignore it. Why is it that I tend to kind of do these things? Why is it that I'm ignoring certain things that are important to me just to be in a relationship? And I get it, there's a lot of pressure in society, there's a lot of pressure in our family, there's a lot of pressure everywhere around us to be in a relationship or to get married. But you have to also keep in mind that that yes, even though there's pressure, it's also very important to make sure that I'm spending the rest of my life with the right person. So that's just some of my things that I guess I kind of feel like are very important when it comes to whether or not you're desperate. Okay, so how do you know well, how do you not appear so desperate? I want to say that it's okay to want to be in a relationship. It's okay to want to have somebody that you call, you know, your spouse or your partner, your boyfriend, whatever. It's okay, but you have to be aware of whether or not you're doing it out of desperation or something else. So how do you, how do you become available but not desperate? I want to say one of the ways is learn to make genuine friendship with people, with guys that you meet. Don't just go to event just so you can look for a spouse. I know some of you guys are probably guilty of that, and I know, yeah. As I was saying, go to events to make friends, because networking is important. You know, it's very important to get to know people, network, because you don't know where you're going to end up in life. So go to events to make friends, to get to know, genuinely get to know people, your brothers in Christ. Genuinely get to know them. The number 2 way to know or to not appear to be so desperate is to learn to embrace your singleness. I'm not saying not to go and, get to know people. That's not what I was saying. But learn to embrace it. Learn to know yourself more. Learn what your passions are. What are you passionate about? What are your purpose, or what is your purpose in life? Because I think that once you get to know these things, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to be desperate. Because you're going to, as you know yourself more, you're going to know that, okay, this guy, he's attractive, but he's not even... he doesn't even like this, or him in my life would not work out because of this and so reason. So, yeah. Let me know if my question for you is, what are some other ways that you can appear to be desperate? What are some other ways you've seen people appear desperate? What are some other ways that you may have came off as desperate? I want to say that, guys don't like it when you're desperate, or most guys. I can't speak for all guys. I'm sure some guys do, but most guys don't like it when you're desperate. You don't know why? Because they see you as someone with low self-esteem, especially if you're willing to settle for whatever comes your way, especially if you're like, oh my goodness, he told me he was gonna text me, but he didn't, so I'm gonna text him. They can tell those kind of things. So I want to know your thoughts as far as other ways that people appear desperate. Thank you for watching. Until next time.